What if I told you the greatest empire in history did not fall in a single day? It did not vanish in a flash of lightning or a single blow from a foreign sword. Instead, it rotted slowly from within. This was an empire that ruled nearly the entire known world. They built roads that still exist today and commanded armies that were feared across 3 continents. At its height, Rome was the pinnacle of human achievement, yet it collapsed, not from one enemy, but from many, including itself. We see the ruins now, the cold marble and the broken pillars, and we wonder how something so massive could simply disappear. The story of Rome is a warning from the past. It is a story of power, greed, and the inevitable cycle of rise and fall. Today, we look at how the eternal city turned to ash and what that means for us. We will explore the glory of the legions and the tragedy of the decay. Rome's story begins in 753 BC. According to legend, it was founded by Romulus, who killed his own brother Remus to claim total power. From the very beginning, Rome was built on violence, ambition, and a ruthless drive for dominance. It did not start as a vast empire. It began as a small, dusty city on the banks of the Tiber River. Surrounded by enemies on all sides, the early Romans had only one choice: adapt or die. They were not naturally superior, but they were exceptionally disciplined. They developed a military system that turned every citizen into a potential soldier. These men were not just fighters, they were engineers, builders, and strategists. As they expanded, they did not just conquer their neighbors, they absorbed them. They took the best ideas from those they defeated and made them Roman. They conquered Italy, then crushed the naval power of Carthage, then seized the ancient wisdom of Greece and the wealth of Egypt. Eventually, Rome controlled the entire Mediterranean. They called it Mare Nostrum, which means our sea. By the end of the Republic, Rome had transformed from a regional power into a global force that no one could stand against. This rapid expansion brought immense wealth, but it also changed the Roman soul forever, replacing simple republican virtues with the thirst for imperial glory. Under the leadership of Augustus, Rome entered its most stable period, the Pax Romana. This was 200 years of relative peace and unprecedented prosperity. During this golden age, trade flourished from the British Isles to the deserts of the Middle East. Cities grew to sizes that would not be seen again for 1,000 years. Roman engineering reached levels that seemed almost supernatural to the people of the time. They constructed a network of roads stretching over 250,000 miles, ensuring that communication and trade could flow rapidly across the empire. They built massive aqueducts that used gravity to supply millions of gallons of clean water to their urban centers. They created iconic structures like the Colosseum and the Pantheon, symbols of power that were designed to last forever. At its peak, the Roman Empire had over 70 million people under its control. That was nearly 20% of the entire human population on Earth. It was a civilization of laws, philosophy, and massive infrastructure. But power like that comes at a staggering cost. The maintenance of such a vast territory required a massive military and an even larger bureaucracy. The seeds of destruction were being planted even as the empire reached its greatest heights. The very systems that made Rome great were becoming too heavy for the empire to carry. Behind the marble facades, the first signs of stress were appearing in the financial foundations and the social fabric of the eternal city. Rome did not collapse overnight. It started with a long, slow decay. Corruption began to spread like a virus through the leadership. The Senate became a playground for the wealthy, and the position of emperor became a dangerous prize. Emperors were assassinated one after another, often by their own bodyguards in the Praetorian Guard. Some ruled for only months before being replaced in a cycle of blood and betrayal. At the same time, the economy began to crumble. To pay for the massive army and the lavish lifestyles of the elite, the currency was debased. They reduced the precious metal content in their coins, leading to runaway inflation. Taxes skyrocketed, crushing the middle class and the farmers. The gap between the ultra-rich and the desperately poor exploded, leading to social unrest and frequent riots in the streets. Meanwhile, enemies were gathering at the borders. The Goths, the Vandals, and the Huns began to realize that the Roman borders were no longer as solid as they once were. The Roman army, once the most feared force in the world, was no longer truly Roman. Because they could not find enough citizens to serve, they relied heavily on Germanic mercenaries. These were men with no cultural loyalty to Rome, fighting only for the gold that was increasingly hard to find. The foundations were cracking, and the empire was eventually split in two between East and West, further weakening its ability to resist the coming storm of the Great Migrations.
In the year 410 AD, the unthinkable happened. For the first time in 800 years, the city of Rome was sacked. The Visigoths broke through the gates and plundered the Eternal City, sending shockwaves through the civilized world. It was a psychological blow from which the empire would never recover. The end came, finally, in the year 476 AD. A barbarian king named Odoacer marched into the city and removed the last Roman emperor, a young boy named Romulus Augustulus. Just like that, the Western Roman Empire was gone. The grand experiment had ended in fire and chaos. However, Rome may have fallen, but its legacy never truly disappeared. It evolved. It lives on in our legal systems, our architecture, our languages, and our government structures. The question we must ask ourselves today is whether we are repeating their mistakes. Rome fell because of political instability, economic collapse, overexpansion, and internal corruption. It serves as a reminder that no empire, no matter how great or technologically advanced, is too big to fail. As we look at the ruins of the past, we see a mirror of the future. The rise and fall of Rome is not just a history lesson, it is a story that continues to shape who we are and where we are going. We must learn from their ash if we wish to protect our own future.